For starters, I want to do a take two on the crash course in the Bible, the format one. I'm going to try to do it as closely to the first one because I'm not trying to bullshit around, but I want my footnotes still to line up that I was talking about. Um, the Bible first was put together in the form that we know it as in 390 AD by a pope named Damascus, and he reluctantly did it. He made some comments pertaining to that would be the downfall of the church, and he was probably right. But I'm just going to go over the format of the Bible real quick. If you're holding your Bible and you look at the very first page of Genesis, that's the first day of creation. And if you look at the last page of Revelations, this is the last day of creation. So, in a real particular way, you can look at your Bible as a form of a timeline. And I'm not talking about authenticity right now. I'm just talking about the format. The truth is that a lot of the original documents that should have been in the Bible were destroyed during the advance of the Ottoman Empire, and they were destroyed by the burning down of the library in Alexandria, which was for a long time a safe haven for most kinds of knowledge from across the world. And then there were several terrible events where this library was fucked up in order to, in the name of one god or another. But just real quick, a couple things I want to point out is that the technicalities in the stories of the Gospels, most of that is really star charts. You know what I mean? And what I mean is that the activities they're describing are actually the activities of the sun as it moves across different constellations in the sky at different times of the year. And and in my footnotes that I've already put, I mentioned about the Septuagint, and I mentioned about the what we're looking for when we read the Gospel specifically is quotes of Jesus. And as Christians, I'm just saying, and you take the quotes of Jesus and you compare them to the quotes that they should have been from the Septuagint, which is the Greek version of the Old Testament. After the Gospels, which is the first four books of the Old Testament, you got you got the book of Acts, which is most likely written by the same person that wrote Luke, and we talked about that a little bit in the St. Paul video, and also and there's more to come on St. Paul. But let me just mention real quick a couple more things about the order of the Bible. After Acts, you have a bunch of letters that Paul wrote to different peoples in the church and different churches themselves. You got a couple letters from John, St. Jude, and you also have Revelations or the Apocalypse, which is said to have been written by John the Theologian, which I don't think is that far-fetched. But there's a lot of interesting stuff surrounding everyone named John, and we'll also get on that subject in the future. For now, I'm going to let you go with that brief picture of the Bible, and I know I didn't really go on the Old Testament heavily, but I'm probably going to hit you back when I get my thoughts together on it about a couple of technicalities of the Old Testament and who the authors may or may not have been. But I'm going to get back at you shortly. I'm kind of going through some videos and reviewing, and I'm just making sure that I didn't skip over any intricate pieces of information, or I didn't leave any gaps in the histories or the way I'm trying to say stuff. So there's going to be follow-up videos. There's going to be revisions because we want you to have, and by we, I mean me and everyone on the planet who believes that there's such a thing as truth. I want you to have the most information possible so that you can make the judgments that are in your best interest, based on real information. So I'm going to get back at you guys shortly.